And 3, 2, 1, action.
From the youngest ages, we are always told these fairy tale stories, these ideas of transporting to another world, to another place. And I just thought, wouldn't it be amazing if you could bring that fantasy into your own real life?
Imagination is such a boundless thing. There are so many different directions it could go and how you execute it and how you visualize it.
What John has put on the page, it's incredibly emotional.
Here we go. Last one. Here we go. And shoot!
This story goes pretty far back. I've worked with John 9 years, and I would say some iteration of the idea existed back then.
Way before the script was ever even written, we were banging ideas back and forth about the concept and the idea of imaginary friends.
Jelly, Eric. All right, here we go.
I wanted to make a movie for my kids. And they were actually the greatest inspiration for the movie because we were in the middle of a pandemic when it was happening. And I remember seeing their lights dwindle. And I thought, no, we gotta ignite this spark again. And weirdly, that's exactly what the movie's about.
Circle that, Brooke, because that was incredible.
I just thought I should do a movie about their imaginations and all the things they get up to, whether it's in their playrooms or in their bedrooms or with their friends.
The goal was to make a live-action version of something that deals with a lot of real-life coping mechanisms, but also gives you a really beautiful, fun, heartfelt ride to go on.
Amazing. Great job.
Can I breathe?
Yes. All right. Good job, everybody.
John is unstoppable. You meet him at the end of a week and he's just as enthusiastic as he was on Monday. And I think in that way, his imagination is being fed by the film he's making.
I struggle to think of a filmmaker that's been more informed by their own parenthood and children than John Krasinski. I feel like that really cemented his language as a filmmaker. Being a dad to 2 little girls, he filters all of his storytelling through that prism.
To have someone who explains to the filmmakers the journey that the characters are going in a very clear way was very helpful.
He's got a fantastic unifying captain energy.
Thank you so much. This is one of the most beautiful parts of the movie, all thanks to you guys. So thank you very much.
He's like a very good conductor of an orchestra. He's sort of thanking all the instruments all the time. So everybody's playing at the top of their game.
John watched all of my behind the scenes. He was asking me these really specific questions about how we had done things in the past. I was kind of taken aback that he'd taken the time and the trouble to understand my craft enough to care about what I was doing. He's an incredible collaborator.
I didn't have it. It was beautiful.
John is incredible. The way he writes, the way he directs, the way he acts, he can do it all. He loves this movie, he loves these characters. That really makes a huge difference.
He knows what he's doing, and he knows everything he wants to see. I'm not used to that. I'm used to having to do it all myself, because acting is so hard.
I mean, cue the violins. Am I right, Terry?
We're just swapping kid stories back and forth. I'm enjoying it a great deal. Talking to other really handsome dads.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves, shall we? Keith!
I think the best way for a movie to be universal and to be for everybody is actually to make it specific and about something that is just universally relatable.
I've talked to a lot of people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s who will talk about, oh man, I miss my imaginary friends. And they would go into this wistful, nostalgic reverie of when they were kids and had that friend that was there for them unconditionally and always.
It's the kind of story that people will relate to in so many different ways. The loss of a parent, the fear of the future, the caring of someone else, how we deal with our own fears, how we find our own strengths.
I was trying to find a story about coping, and I realized that if I told this story through the eyes of a young girl who was going through exactly what my kids are going through, which is trying to deal with the world in front of them every single day, we get to process it through a whole different perspective. The idea that imaginary friends are always with us, even when we're adults, is one of the big themes of the movie, and that all you have to do is turn around and your childhood's waiting for you right there.
Hey, Keith.
I think telling that story allows kids, adults, grandparents to look back and go, well, maybe it's not too late. Maybe I can still tap back into that.
You can always go back.
This is a love letter to imagination. It's a love letter to your children. It's a love letter to reconnecting with yourself at any age.
I feel profoundly that it's going to ignite the imaginations of the viewer.
If there's one thing I hope audiences take from this movie, it is this idea of imagination being much more than a superpower just for kids, but it is something that we all have within us.
And continuing. Action.
How's that? Your level of fear is so good.
Got it. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Guys, this is going great for me. All right, here we go. Hey, Mark. For me, shooting practically is the most important part of any movie, whether it's all practical or there are visual effects elements, because your job is to bring people into the movie as honestly and in a real way as you can.
Wow! The movie has really strong presence of these imaginary friends, which are going to be achieved via animated characters.
Oh, dear God.
It's amazing when you have a physical puppet next to the live-action cast. It gives an amazingly good connection.
We've been working with all manner of gizmo and trickery to get this done.
Great, one more like that.
It was hugely important to all of us, but really John was the driving force of saying, I want this to be as practical as humanly possible every single step of the way.
My favorite movies and my favorite directors shoot everything practically, and that is for a reason. It's to bring you into that world in an organic way. And so I just said we have to shoot all these worlds as if they're right there, and we got to treat these imaginary friends like they're real actors who are there showing up on set every single day.
And his cape is going the whole time.
If I can bring these actors into a world that looks and feels like the real world, then you believe that these imaginary friends are actually there.
It was really clear that he wanted the tangible reality that you would get with shooting with puppets and having things really there on set.
We've had a few times in the show where we could have gone to green screen to shoot a few shots, and John has come back and said, no, it's got to be on a real set. I've got to feel it. It's got to feel real. So we've actually spent a lot more time doing it in the way I think you really have to do this movie.
All right, you know what? Do it yourself, okay? I quit. I don't need this. I don't need any of this.
Like any movie, there's challenges to bringing it to life. The technical side of it is the side I think everybody was probably the most nervous about. How are we going to shoot these scenes? Are we going to have performers? Are we going to have playback? How are they going to interact?
Obviously, the ifs aren't real people.
Sorry, what?
Oh, I feel bad saying that. That hurts my heart. John wanted to make sure that we weren't acting with tennis balls the whole time. So for our main ones, Blue, Blossom, and Lewis, we have actors.
We have amazing actors here that are filling in for those people before their voice tracks are laid down and giving us as much as possible to react to.
For Blue, that takes many different forms. Our actor named Eric is fantastic.
It's a man with two faces.
Thank you, here we go.
Our standing guy, Eric, he wears a very nice backpack, so for Ryan and Kaylee, it's good for the eye line. We had this really big hula hoop for his girth, because he's a big guy.
We have a large blue hand. We have a large blue suit. We have a backpack with a little baby blue head on top. And depending on the scene and depending what it calls for, he will be in any different kind of outfit.
3, 2, 1.
And then we also did the same thing for Blossom, just so that on the day there's actually somebody to react to. And of course, they're building the performance.
Devin plays Blossom. She's amazing. All of these people that are playing these ifs embody them, and they are perfect for them. It's so cool.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Ones that we don't have actors for, we have cardboard cutouts or stuffed animals or something that we can act to.
Sometimes it's tennis balls. Sometimes we have this, 5-foot face of Blue.
We have these maquettes that we've made and things like that, which we can puppeteer through the shots.
They take on various forms. Sometimes we're using them in actual scenes, sometimes we're just using them for VFX reference, and sometimes we're using them to interact.
There's a room full of huge creatures who are all sitting there. John enacts these creatures for us all the time.
I got him, guys. Here he goes. He's coming.
They're going to be a very big part of the second making of this film, which will be when we all finish shooting and they start making these other creatures.
As a cinematographer, you have to accommodate for the elements in the scene that are missing. So we did have an imaginary friend created roughly representing what that person or individual will look like, simply so we could frame the image according to that person being the frame. but also how the light works, how the light illuminates the fur. It's good to create that language as you make in the film, so later on, the visual effects artists have a blueprint to go by.
We want these characters to feel connected to the human characters. That's what it's all about. So we're doing everything we can on set to protect that, and in the visual effects, we'll be trying to make it look as real as we can.
Wow.
I think we make a pretty good team.
The magic is in the realism, so if we can make it feel real, then that will elevate it.
We have a wonderful group of department heads that have come together and have made this wonderful fairy tale in the story John has wanted to tell, and it has come out, I hope, as John had imagined all along.
Creating adorable characters or characters that are really funny is so important. But if you don't believe that they're in the room for real, then I think the magic of this movie goes away.
Anytime. Anywhere! Okay.